Hello guys, myself Shubhayu, and now today this is my first video, and I like to start my video on web designing and development. Now go to my screen and describe there more information. Okay, so let's begin. So this is our home screen. Here I open that PPT where we asked and learn about web designing and development, some conceptual topic. Okay. So this is the first page. Here I mentioned that here this is the HTML5. HTML5 means it's a version of HTML. And here is CSS, this is JavaScript, this is Bootstrap, this is Dreamweaver, and this is MySQL, and this is PHP. So what we learn in this session, they are Photoshop, web template designing, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, PHP, and MySQL. Here, my name is Shubhayu. I am a student from IEM Kolkata, and now I start. So there. So let's start that PPT. Uh, Open it. Now go to the next page. Here, the introduction of web designing and development. So at first a question, what is website? A website is a collection of web pages and related content that is identified by a common domain name and published on at least one web server. Examples of notable websites are Google, Facebook, Amazon, and Wikipedia. We all know about it. And here I make a definition of website. You can read it. I give you that PPT as a PDF on this pin comment or attach file if you want. Then next go for web designing. What second question? What is web designing? Web designing is the creation of websites and pages to reflect a company's brand and information and ensure a user-friendly experience. Appearance and designing are incorporated as vital elements whether you are designing a website, mobile app, or maintaining content on a web page. So, what is web designing? We all know about the website. We use Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Flipkart, Wikipedia, even ChatGPT. They are also a website where we see the designing, the front, where we see and touch the buttons and see the images. That's called designing. And development. What is development? Web development is the work involving in development a website for the internet. Mean by internet, we all know what is www, mean World Wide Web, or for sometimes it used for a private network. And what is web development? When the back end mean the front end work with the back end, a complete website containing two parts. One is front end and one is back end. So today we only discussed about the front end. So go to the next slide. Here the first technology what we use, that HTML. What is the full form of HTML? Hypertext Markup Language. So at first say what is HTML? The HTML mean the Hypertext Markup Language is a standard markup language for documents designed to be displayed in a web browser. So it is a definition of HTML. You can see a example code how to write. Here a image I added at the last, and use a logo that contains HTML5 logo. And second question, why do we use HTML? HTML, Hypertext Markup Language, is the language used to tell your web browser what each part of website is. So using HTML, you can define the header, paragraphs, links, images, and many more. You can also fix videos also from this tag. And your browser know how to structure the web page and how it looking. So the third question, we go for the third question. How many type of HTML are there? There are three categories of HTML we found. That is transitional, static, and frame set. Traditional is the most common type of HTML, while static type of HTML is meant to return rules to HTML and make it more relatable. Okay? Now, say something about tags, HTML tags. Go to the sixth question. Here you see that format, how to write HTML tag. Here, at first you see that HTML with angular bracket, that bracket called angular bracket. You see that angular bracket? Here, that angular bracket have a start and containing a closing. Okay, somehow we get some exceptions that we say about later. Now, goes for the fourth question. How I write HTML code. Step 1. Open Notepad in PC and you also use the text editors or code compiler to write it. Then write some HTML format. That in HTML5 we use doc type HTML to start that, or other we use that angular HTML and closing HTML, and between this we write the code. Now talk about who is the founder of HTML. The first version of HTML was written by Trimms Berners-Lee in 1993, and other information are written here in the question number 5. But I think that there are several types of limitation of HTML. One, HTML not a true programming language. Yes, it is not a completely programming language. It is just a backbone of website. A structure. You say that man or animal have skeletons. HTML is like that skeleton of the website. Second point. Now facilities are debugger in HTML. No facilities of debugger in HTML. Third point. Complex coding is required to make a interactive web pages. Point number 4. Complex coding is difficult for understand. When we use easy code or easy coding system, easy coding methods, there everybody can understand what I am writing. So that is in here I make a great complexity in that case. Now go to the 5 point. Calculation cannot be done by using HTML. Yeah, here we can, for this HTML in hypertext, mean by hypertext markup language, we cannot calculate or use mathematical function with that HTML. For this calculation, certain language like VB, JavaScript are required, and you can also use Python, Node.js, PHP also. So go to the next slide. Now CSS. CSS full form. What is the full form of CSS? Cascading style sheet. Here we use CSS to design the HTML, because HTML is the skeleton of that web page, and CSS is the designer thing that it looks attractive web page. It makes attractive web page. Here you can see an example of CSS code in this photo, and it is the CSS logo. Now go to the first question. What is CSS? Cascading style sheet is a style sheet language used to describe the presentation of a document written in HTML or XML. CSS describe how elements should be rendered on screen, on paper, in speech, or on the media. So why do we use CSS? CSS is used to style to a web page by directing how a site is displayed on our browser. CSS is unique in that it doesn't create any new elements like HTML or JavaScript. Instead, it is a language used to style HTML element. It is not a complete programming language. It is just a style sheet language where we can only style. Here no mathematical function are available. So now go to the third question. How many type of CSS are there? CSS is used to set the style in web page containing that HTML elements. Here we found three type of CSS that are given below. Inline CSS, external CSS and internal CSS. So how to write CSS code? We can write it many ways. That when we use inline CSS, then we in the HTML line we take a style attribute and there we input CSS code. Meanwhile CSS we in CSS we do not use tags. In CSS we use properties, and with these properties we give a good logic that how it designed. And external CSS we make a other file where we make a CSS code mean by properties and their logic how the design mean done. Then we link that file to HTML file. And last, the internal CSS. Internal CSS mean by in HTML page after the head tag ends, before the head tags end, where we add that. Okay. Now we go to the who is the founder of CSS. You see that 5 in question 5, and here you see that Tim Berners-Lee also work in CSS, also a team, working as a team. Then go to the what are the limitation of CSS. CSS cannot perform any logical operation like if else, while loop, for loop, like that. We cannot read any files by using CSS. If cannot interact it with database. CSS cannot request to a web page, mean by root route system. We discussed that in the video that where we discuss about backend development. Meanwhile, backends. There are many technologies like PHP, MySQL, Node.js, Express.js, that, and we use MongoDB or Mongoose for database, and SQL also use database. So go to the next slide. That is the last slide for today. There is JavaScript. It's called JS in short. So what is JavaScript? JavaScript is a multi-paradigmic dynamic language with types of with types and operators, standard built-in objects and methods. Its syntax is based on Java and C language. Many structured from those languages apply to JavaScript as well as. But C is so much. See, you use JavaScript very user friendly because JavaScript code are very easy than C or Java. But logics are same, algorithms are same. Okay. Then discuss the second question. Why do we use JavaScript? JavaScript is a text-based programming language used both on the client side and server side that allows you to make web page interactive. Okay. Then the second line, what is written? Where HTML and CSS are language that give structure and style to web pages. But JavaScript give web pages interactive elements that engage a user. That user, meanwhile, the user will be attractive on that web page, and he spend time on your website. Go to the third question. How many types of JavaScript are there? JavaScript has 7 built-in types: null, undefined, Boolean number, string, object and symbol. They can be identify the type of operators in JS or JavaScript. How do I write JavaScript code? Okay, here you see a answer. That is a formal answer, but I say you that you can use console in Google, also in Microsoft Edge, and directly you write the code on Visual Studio Code to make a JS file. Okay, I forgot to tell you that when you write the HTML code, then your file extension will be .html. When you write the CSS, mean by external CSS, then your file extension will be .css, and when you write the JavaScript in a file, then you use to .js as an extension. Then go to the fifth question. Who is the founder of JavaScript? JavaScript was invented by Braden Each in 1995, and other details are written here. You can read it from here. Okay. So what are the limitations of JavaScript? JavaScript is a client-side language and a programming language also. And I say that before that it's some features based on Java and C. So JavaScript does not allow the reading or writing of files. It has been kept for the security reason. JavaScript could not used for networking application because there is no such support available. JavaScript does not have any multi-threading or multiprocessor capabilities. Here, here on these three type, mean by HTML, CSS and JavaScript, we find some limitation. Everything has limitation. So that's why we discuss about the limitation. Okay, then go to the seventh question. Which main tag is used in JavaScript file? That's script. When we write this JavaScript between the HTML or the other file, then we use that tag. But when we write it in console of Google, Microsoft Edge or any other browser, there we have not to use that script tag. Okay, so that's all for today. We meet soon in the next video. So bye.